Hey you guys, it is 8:04 p.m. on Wednesday, January 8th, 2020. And in this video, I'm going to talk about some major mile markers that have happened in the last decade, you can say. I know I'm about 8 days too late for this video, but I guess it's better late than never. And I do have to give a couple of pre-warnings. First of all, when I get excited or stressed out, then my speech impairment problem comes back in, and I have a hard time saying things. Like, for example, I want to say something one certain way, and it comes out sounding like a total idiot said it, and I don't intentionally do that, so usually I correct myself, and if I don't, then just try to please comprehend what I was saying. Also, I do sometimes use profanity, but I don't use it all the time. So if I'm like really excited, I'll say something like, oh fuck, or oh hell, or something like that, but it won't ever go to the extreme like MF or GD or something like that. I won't never go that way. I think I have said that a few times. Never gonna lie about that. I mean, I admit I did say it a few times. I don't intentionally say those words. But yeah. Also, the last thing I wanted to say was I don't know how long this video will be, so please just bear with me or leave now. I really don't care, okay? And also, one other thing I meant to say was I will tell you some stories about where I came from, because these kind of help me remember in direct order what had happened over these years, if that makes sense. And sometimes I will forget and go back to a different year, or go back to a year that I might have already said. So I'm going to try and sum it up real sweet and short within at least 15 minutes of a video, okay? So sorry for the long warning or the long intro, but I'm kind of excited about this video. I have been wanting to do it for a couple of days, so I just said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to do it today. If I mess up, I mess up. I'm still putting it up. Okay, now, I know this wasn't really part of the last decade because 2008 was 12 years ago, but I count this as part of one of the big moments of my life because year 2008 was the year I turned 10 years old, and then AC/DC's last album with Malcolm Young was released. Sorry. So that's why that year is very important to me, and that album will always hold a special place in my heart. I know a lot of you are going to say, oh, you're just stupid for loving an album or remembering a time when the album came out. Well, I was a kid and I was just entering double digits. And you know, those are times that you want to remember. It's the times that you had fun and the times that you felt like the world, you know, you were on top of the world or something like that, you know? So that's why I brought 2008 up. That's all I'm going to say about that year. 2009 was a boring year. Oh yeah, 2009 was actually the first year I got my first cell phone, which was a little flip phone. At the time, I wasn't real interested in it. And then I decided, Mom, I want a actual good phone, so she bought me a cute little phone from AT&T. It was a little green phone. That, you know, it was a touchscreen at first, or it was a touchscreen, and then you could actually, you know, turn it to the side and pull out a little keyboard on it. I did like that about that phone, but I had that phone for about a year and a half, and then my brother borrowed it one day to talk to his girlfriend on it because his was on the charger. This happened in 2010. I turned 12, by the way, so I was a tween then. My brother borrowed it to talk to his girlfriend on the phone. He spent 6 hours on the phone with her in total. I asked for my phone back 2 times, and he said, will you give me a little bit of more time? And I said, sure. And then I asked for it back again. He asked for a little bit more time, and I said, okay, this is it. I had my mom come into the room with me, and I said to my brother, I want my phone back now. You can talk to your girlfriend when your phone charges. This way, Mom would witness how he acted around me sometimes when I was young. By the way, I had 3 brothers. One of them had already moved out by this time, and the other one and my brother I'm talking about were sharing a room. Since there was 8 of us in total in the house, my sisters shared a room and my brothers shared a room, and I was the only one that had my own room. I think that's why my brother did this, because I was the only child that had my own room. When I was 12 years old, he said, okay, you want your phone back? He turned it off, said goodbye to his girlfriend, cleared her number off of the call log, or whatever you call it. Yeah, call log. And threw it at the wall as hard as he could and broke it. And he said, after he got out of his bunk bed, he slept on the top bunk, he got out of his bed, grabbed the pieces, and said, here, you wanted your phone back, you got it. And my mom literally grabbed him by the hair on his head, and she said, you know what you're going to do now? You're going to give your sister a phone that she actually wants. Because I've been wanting the iPhone 4S, or 4, no, at the time it was the 4, but then the 4S came along about 6 months later, so he bought me that after he had broken my phone, okay? So in 2010, I turned 12. I got my first smartphone, which really in the past, I actually had a couple of hand-me-down iPhones, the 3G phones. I had one black one and one white one from my sisters. And I used those for like music and stuff like that, and taking videos around the house. But then something happened that you will find out somewhere along a line in the video, as to why I don't have them anymore. Because I'd probably still have them, they probably would still work. Because I do maintenance of my devices, I clean them, I update the software, I make sure everything is updated on it, and I don't keep certain photos. Like I don't go over 500 photos on my phone. There are just too many photos I like, and I got a 64 gigabyte phone, so I'm fine. Also in 2010, I had developed my own sense of fashion, and my favorite stores to shop at were the Guess Outlet in Hilton Head Island, or the Guess Store, whatever you call it, because they had more than just purses. And I wasn't really much into purses or anything like that, or, but I did like to go shopping at that outlet for clothes. And at the time, I liked Victoria's Secret. I've just really grown not to like them for my own personal reasons. I'm not bashing Victoria's Secret in any way, so please don't take it as I am. And, my other favorite places to shop were Hollister and Aeropostale. And, can't remember the other place. I know there was another one. It was some kind of like beach-themed store, so it might have been just a local store down there. I don't remember its name right off. I know it started with a T, and no, it was not Talbot's, by the way. I don't think Talbot sells clothes. I don't know much about Talbot's, so... there was a Talbot's down there, though. Yeah, I think it actually was a beach store, because I had a lot of beach-themed clothes. Because we were a family of beachgoers. We loved to go to the beach. And I had a fashion sense. I was real picky about how I did my makeup and matched my clothing together. Even though I went to an all-girls Catholic school, that made you wear uniforms. And I know you're gonna say that, oh, you're just copying Angus Young. You didn't really go to a Catholic school. Well, believe it or not, they did exist. I don't remember the name of it right off. Actually, I might be able to look it up on my maps here. I know you're thinking, oh, you're just looking it up because you've never actually been there. Let's see here. Hold on, man, I'm trying to find it here. They must not have it anymore, but yeah, I went to an all-girls Catholic school down there that made you wear uniforms, but as soon as I got home, I was required to change out of my uniform, do whatever homework I had, and then I was allowed to do what I wanted, which really, I had a doctor's notice where I was not really allowed to have a lot of homework, so they only gave me like 1 page per class, I guess, to keep me updated in my knowledge there. Yeah, that was pretty much all there was to say about that time in my life. And then also in 2012, like I said, I got my first actual smartphone, my iPhone 4, and then 6 months later, the 4S. Let's see. 2013 was a boring year. And, that was pretty much all to say about it, other than we started to come up here to visit where I currently live, and we weren't planning to live here. We just wanted to come up here and visit sometimes to get away from the beach life, I guess, which I was perfectly content constantly living the beach life. I'm sorry, but I would trade living the beach life any day now, all day long, for this weather of 32 degrees. Let's see what the temperature is in my hometown. It's 48. And the rest of the week it's going to be in the 60s and 70s. Except for Saturday, it looks like they're going to have some thunderstorms, but I'd still be fine with that. Let's see, moving to 2014, the release of AC/DC's Rocker Bust, which was another major milestone. I also turned 16, so that is another major milestone. Let's see, 2017. Sorry, I skipped 2016. I'm sorry. I meant to say 2016. I turned 18 and then graduated high school, all within 10 days of each other, so you can say basically 2 weeks. I graduated on the 23rd of May, so you can comprehend 10 days before that was the 13th of May. That's my birthday. And also 2016, I went to see my first concert. I got not my first guitar, but I got my first SG guitar and all that stuff. Also, I want to talk about 2015, and I want to take a moment for you all to realize that this was like the hardest year of my life. And I'm just going to try and summon it up in very few words. Let's just put it this way. We lost our home to a fire, okay? I should have just said arson, and I know some people won't know what arson means, so that's why I said fire. Instead, we lost our home to a fire. It was really arson. We were all having dinner on my birthday. I was 17 then. And my mom never answers the phone at a dinner table, okay? And then suddenly, she gets the urge to answer her cell phone, which was the iPhone 5, I think. It was our neighbor calling, saying that our house is on fire, and she got my kitty cats that ran out. She grabbed them and put them in her laundry room. And she called the fire department, and my mom said to my neighbor, "Thank you so much for calling us." And then she told the waitress, "Can we get everything to go? We have an emergency at home, and we need to get there as soon as possible." We were a 55-minute drive from home, so the only thing standing by the time we got there was the outside of the house, because it was a brick house, okay? Lucky for us, we had our RV, and lucky for me, I'm actually able to pick a lock with an earring or a credit card. Otherwise, we would have been homeless for a while. Because we didn't think about keeping the spare key on us to the RV, the engine key, which became the main key. So, we ended up moving into our RV for about a year and a half, and we lived in quite a few places. We visited Florida a couple times during the summer, and I think that's our planned destination to live. But my idea of what I would like to do when I get older, if I ever have the money to do this, is actually have my house back, my old house back in South Carolina, the one that my family worked very hard to build and waited most of their lives to build. And own a nice house in Florida, so I can alternate places. Okay? So hopefully that's what this next decade will offer, is me starting my guitar career. Because I discovered when I was a teenager I actually was really into music, and I decided that's the path for me. So I got some guitars, and I started trying to learn some simple tricks and tunes. And it was hard on me because I have a slight form of autism. But yeah. Like I said, in 2016 I turned 18 and I graduated high school. And also went to see my first concert, which was, surprise, Axl Rose with AC/DC. And it was originally supposed to be Brian Johnson with AC/DC in 2015. No, yeah, maybe early 2016, but all I know is I got the tickets for my birthday for seeing them live near us in South Carolina. But then that unfortunate thing happened and we had to take the tickets back. And then when we went to take them back, somebody offered us twice as much money to buy them off of us so that they could go see them. And my mom said, okay, because we needed money for gas and we needed money for essential stuff, like, shampoo, conditioner, food, personal items, maybe some new clothes. And that's why the year 2015 really hits home for me, because it was just a terrifying year, terrifying moment, losing everything. Except for the outside of our house, which I'm actually happy that they were able to restore our house to its former glory, thankfully. I just hope that we can buy it back one day, and I really wish that they didn't fill the pool in. Because that really, really pissed Mom and Dad off when they found out that the people that bought it after us filled the pool in. The pool that cost $150,000 to put in. It was an in-ground swimming pool out back of the house. And it wasn't concrete liner either. It was just liner. My mom said, had we had gotten concrete, it probably would have lasted a lot longer. Now she sees why a lot of motels and public pools are made of concrete instead of actual liner. I miss my house so bad. And then, skipping to 2017, this is another year that hits home for me because he was more of a dad to me than my actual dad, even though I never met him. Malcolm Young, one of the greatest rhythm guitar players that ever lived. And, let's see, 2018, I got my first car. It's a pre-owned Fiat, is all I'm gonna say. And, I got my driver's permit, and then in 2019, I got my driver's license, and then when I turned 21, I had to go down there and pay $55 for another license, because, you know, they had to turn it over to the side to show I was over, or I was 21 or over. So, yeah. And I still have my first driver's license and driver's permit, and I have my current license in my wallet, and I'm gonna keep it there, you know. But yeah, that's how this decade was for me, but there was a lot of good times too. Like, I was starting to develop a sense of who I was, which is always a good thing, and who I am. I know I've changed a little bit over the years. I used to be super into fashion, and that included rock t-shirts. I was always into those, but now I just really don't care about matching outfits, you know. I look at it like I'm gonna be me no matter what, and if nobody likes that, then they can just not let the door hit them on the ass on the way out. That's the way I look at it. And I've obviously gotten better at makeup, and I expanded my mind about brands and stuff like that. Like, I have all different brands of foundation, from drugstore to high-end, and the same thing for concealer, from drugstore to high-end, and mascaras, which mostly I have high-end ones because they were sent to me and bought for me for Christmas and given to me by my mom and sisters. But yeah, this is just how my decade was, and I'm sorry for saying some cuss words, and sorry that this video has taken forever. But one thing I wanted to say was, Mom, Dad, and me are actually looking for another house in this area that suits our needs. So we might be moving again soon. We're actually even looking at houses on Zillow's website and the Zillow app in Panama City, Florida, and Pensacola, Florida. 2 places we would like to live, whichever one has the one perfect house for us. Until then, we are stuck living basically off of my aunt, because this is not even our house. But for the last 4 years, it's a place that we've called home. But in my personal opinion, it's not home, okay? I mean, they say where your family is, that's your home. So in the technical sense, it is home, but it just doesn't feel homey to me, if you know what I mean. If that makes sense, you know? Like, it's not near the beach, it's not South Carolina, it's not, you know, Florida or even Georgia. We've even been looking in some parts of some parts of the state of Georgia that touch the coast. Like Jekyll Island, I believe, touches the coast. We vacationed down there a couple of times, and I loved it. It's a beautiful place. And it seems like a wonderful place to raise a family. But I unfortunately don't really want to have kids until I decide where I'm going to live, or I may never decide to have kids, but like I said, we've got plenty of time for that. And I haven't said that in this video, I've said it in previous videos. I'm not so sure about getting a boyfriend to have the kids with. I thought about just going like the in vitro way, or whatever you call it. And I know a lot of you are going to say you're stupid for that. Well, if you guys knew my family and our history of how breakups and divorces went, then you would understand. You know. It's not that I don't trust men, it's just that I don't feel that it would be a good idea right now. But right now I just want to focus on my career and getting settled into a place to where I can call home. You know. And I just wanted to share what has happened over the last decade with you guys, because even though I feel kind of down right now, and that's why I sound this way, I still thought it would be a fun idea to at least talk about the things that have happened. And there's a couple of good things that have happened too. Like, for example, when my brother broke my phone, I learned that you can trust nobody with nothing. Not even your own brothers and sisters. Or your own moms and dads half the time. I mean, I trust my mom and dad with my life. But there are just some things that even they don't know about me, you know? And that's perfectly normal. If you're a parent and you hear this and you think your kids are not keeping something from you, then you are definitely wrong. Because, believe it or not, we know that at one point you were a kid. Even though some of the kids make fun of their parents for being so-called old and all that stuff, they still know that their parents were, that you guys were once kids. So, you know, it's just, you know, how weird it feels even still to this day to wake up and remember that I'm not in Beaufort or in Hilton Head. Because I believe there was a time period where we rented a condo in Hilton Head when I was a little girl, so it was very well possible I was actually born in Hilton Head. Either way, I was born and raised in South Carolina, and I will always stay a South Carolinian at my heart. I know a lot of people are gonna say that you don't sound like the typical South Carolinian girl because of your voice. Believe it or not, we all sound different. We don't all sound the same down there. I'm from the more beachy side of South Carolina, so of course I have more of a beach girl tone, is what some people call me. And, you know, and it was just, you know, a fun time in my life. A time I will never in my life forget. And this year was actually the year I have truly accepted that my house that was home to me will probably never be mine again unless it's on sale again or for sale again. Then I will work really hard to try and buy it back and at least try to get a above ground pool put in the back, because my home without a pool would not feel like home to me. I used to have this iPod Touch that I loved to listen to when I would take my bike places with me. Like when I would bike to the store or something around the neighborhood. My mom hardly ever let me ride to the store on my bike alone. She did not let me ride out of the neighborhood on my bike alone. And I was always like, why not, Mom? Every other kid here is allowed to do it. And she said, well, that doesn't mean that you're allowed to. I'm not like their parents. She wasn't saying they were bad parents. She just didn't feel safe with me doing it yet. So, you know, I felt like the kid that was always alone, because my friends would get to leave the neighborhood and go to the store and get things that they wanted with their earned allowance. See, I can't even pronounce allowance right. Because remembering these times have actually started to make me feel sad again, you know? And I hate to feel sad, so I'm gonna try and not feel sad and think positive. Like, maybe one day we will absolutely positively be able to live in South Carolina again. Or at least I will. Or even Florida. I'd be happy with Florida. And I'm sorry this video got so long. I didn't really know how fast half an hour could fly by. But I just thought I would share with you guys my life story and why I am the way I am. And there's a little part of me that you don't know about. I was bullied in school. That's why I always seem like I'm in a bad mood or I seem aggressive. I don't intentionally do it. I want to get to know someone for being them before I am aggressive toward them, because I find out they're a bad person, you know. I would never be mean to somebody just for the fun of it. It's not fun at all. You know, it's not a good thing to be bullied. It's not a good thing to be a bully. And you know, it's something that I just never really thought was cool to bully or intentionally be rude to another person. I could never do that. Unless they were rude to me first, then I would be rude 10 times worse back. I was gonna say 10 times bigger, but I don't think it sounded right. But I did tell you at the beginning of the video, I just really wouldn't care how I spoke. If I did speak properly, I would correct it. And I think I did a couple of times. And you know, that basically summons up how my past was. It was mostly downers, but there was really a lot of good times. Like, we would almost always go to the beach. And my favorite kind of float was, and still is, the boogie board. You know, they're like little, what do you call them? Surfboards, but they have those things that you can put around your arms or your ankles. Some people put them around their ankles. I always put it around my arm. Unless I wanted to swim underwater for a long period of time but not lose my float, I would put it around one of my ankles. And then we would go eat at our favorite restaurant, which is Wild Wings. And we have a Wild Wings here. That's kind of weird. Of course, it's called B-dubs is what we call it. B-dubs. I don't really remember what the B-dubs means. But it's literally about 3 miles away from here, and it tastes nothing like Wild Wings. So every time we passed through Hilton Head, we would stop at one of the Wild Wings restaurants, and we would have our favorites. I loved the one that you can just walk to the beach from. Because we mostly were swimming at the beach. We would go to the beach for 8 or 9 hours a day on the weekends, when everyone had their chores done and when, you know, everything was cleaned up. My mom had some rules in effect for me in particular, because I was still the youngest child. I was still yet to learn that at the end of the week, not only did I have to have all of my school work done, which I did, I always turned it in the same day. I actually had enough time to do basically all of it but one paper on the bus. And the rules were I had to pick up what was dirty in my room. Like, if I forgot to bring, for example, if I forgot to bring a cup downstairs, or a cup, why did I say downstairs? It was a one floor house. If I forgot to bring a cup into the kitchen and have it put in the dirty dishes to be put in the dishwasher, which was a big dishwasher by then, I wasn't allowed to go to the beach until I actually wanted to pick up the cup. And if I didn't have at least my favorite blanket that I slept under spread out on the bed, so I guess you could say bed made, I wasn't allowed to do anything like go play on my bike or anything, or go play outside with my bubbles or my outside toys, because when I was living in South Carolina, I had a shit ton of outside toys. Excuse the language again. And if I got really smart with mom or dad, they would take my devices away, including my Xbox, which also brings me back to when I was 10 years old. I started playing Xbox then, the 360. I have a hard drive for the original 360 still, and I wish I still had one so I could erase the hard drive and, you know, make a little bit of cash off of it, but I don't really think it's important to do that right now. I hear there's a cable that you can buy and hook it up to the newer 360s and erase it, so I might do that. I just might do that. I might find a used one for a cheap amount of money and do that, because that was one of the only things that survived the fire, even though the console burnt to shit. Excuse my language again. You know, but if I did everything I was told to do and my brothers and sisters did the same thing, like we all took turns doing our laundry, like mom and dad really didn't believe in mixing everyone's laundry together. We had assigned baskets. We had like 2 baskets each, one for a dirty clothes hamper. Like, if we had too much dirty clothes, we would have to put them in our assigned colors. Mine was red and green. And then my brothers both had blue because they were the same size. The only thing they didn't share was their understuff and stuff like that, socks, because that's really not sanitary. And they did share a room, like I said. That's why they slept on bunk beds. There was only enough room for one dresser, a set of bunk beds, a small TV, and I'm talking small when I say small TV. Their Xbox and 2 fold-up chairs and a fold-up table. When they had guests over, they would fold up the table, close the closet doors, and the guests actually had to sleep on the couch outside. Not the couch outside, but I mean like outside in the living room. We had a living room that had an actual built-in bar and a fireplace. And there was a big screen TV in there, a huge TV. I mean huge. It was probably about 85 inches. I don't know, that might have been 80 inches, but still it was larger than any TV in this house. And the largest we have right now is 65 inches. And in the front room there was just like a couch, an L-shaped couch with a chaise lounge. And then there was the dining room, which we hardly ever used because we actually had the same size table in the kitchen nook. So my mom actually got rid of that table like 1 year before we lost the house and turned that into a home office / library, because we also had to have at least 1 hour of reading time in every day, because I had a lot of trouble learning how to read when I was younger. So I had to sit in there for at least 1 to 2 hours each day, except for on Friday to Sunday. I had to sit in there and read. And yeah, my mom was the queen of the house. She said what, when, and all that stuff. My dad had a say in it, but since my dad was working all the time, my mom was in charge mostly, and she was working as a police officer. So she worked too, but when she got home, what she said is what I mean. And I don't just mean with me, I mean with my brothers and sisters too. Like, when I was 10 years old, I wanted a cat. She let me get a cat. And she said the only one that is required to clean out the litter box, feed it, and water it is you. You wanted it, it will teach you responsibility. And my brothers and sisters helped me. Like, when I didn't feel good and I was sneezing everywhere, they would take care of him. And my mom was still impressed with the fact that I even asked somebody if they would do it instead of saying, do it for me. And she said, well, you're maturing nicely, girl. That's also where I learned how to shoot a gun at. It was South Carolina. We had a huge yard. Like, the front yard was about the size of 2 full-size football fields and a half of one. And since you are allowed to have guns down there, or you were back then, I don't know about now, all we did was set up a cheap table and a target, and I had to learn how to shoot all sorts of guns, except for like military grade weapons, because we obviously didn't have access to those. Well, we did, but it wasn't really something that was allowed because of laws and stuff like that. Some of the best times in my life happened in that house that I'm talking about. I'm not going to say the address. I'm not going to say the street it was on, but I'm just going to say the city. The best times in my life were in that city. And in Hilton Head, so you can just say South Carolina. Or I'll just say city, because it's basically the same area. It's only like a 55-minute drive in total. That wasn't a big deal for us, because now in order to drive to the beach, we have to spend 8 to 13 hours in the car together with all of our stuff and all of us. And we're fussy, but we're not super fussy. But, you know, car rides can get very out of hand with us. Like, I just miss that so much, you know? It's just so hard not to miss your childhood. But I should probably end the video now because it's 40 minutes long and I did not intend for it to become 40 minutes long. The time is now 8:44 p.m. I do not know how long this will take to upload. And thank you for watching. Bye-bye.